Hey boys and girls, welcome back to a new episode of Daily Passenger Responsible Travel Podcast. And it is a hot day. Thank you for showing so much support, listening, subscribing, and telling me about the products that will make my podcast better and cost me more than what I make in a month. Yes, I am effing broke right now. And we are in the month of June, and all signs show that lockdown is slowly being lifted, or will be lifted by the time this episode comes out. Things are getting back to normal, which means that travelers will be back to practice everything that they used to do in their regular life. Yes, we are all craving for our favorite cup of coffee and a bite of burger, but please make sure that if you are visiting one of these outlets in your neighborhood, then avoid straws, plastic cups, and let the world around us heal a little. Over tourism is a growing problem not just in India but worldwide. Recently, Cosca, that maintains a number of national parks around Thousand Oaks in USA, had opened a couple of hiking spots, hoping that tourist footfall will be low. But they had to close down Paradise Fall because of unexpected high tourist footfall, and these visitors surprisingly behaved very different than they had in past. The overcrowded park ended up littered with trash, despite having a presence of trash cans in the area. Conejo Open Conservation Agency has shut down access to waterfall one more time. Please, it's a request to everyone that when the world is back on its feet and Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand or any tourist spot opens their door for tourists, please behave more responsibly and leave the place clean as you will be seeing them in a post-lockdown world. In today's episode, we are joined by Bhavita. She is an handloom enthusiast and supports small businesses through her social media and travel groups. Before we join today's session, make sure that you have subscribed to the podcast on Spotify, Hubhopper, or any platform where you are listening. Hey Bhavita, thanks for taking out your time and joining us for this episode.
Hey Anshul, thanks a lot for having me here. It's my pleasure to join you and all the audience.
So I have already discussed questions with you, but I will like to ask that how are you told me that you are helping migrants and helping them reach their home. So please tell something about that.
Definitely, we can start with the current scenario. Handlooms we can definitely talk about later. But this is something very close to my heart, and we have been trying really hard to do whatever we can. I think almost everybody will resonate with this thought that abhi COVID has changed everyone's perspective towards life. And almost everyone has been helping in doing their bits. Little bit जितना हो सके उतना हर कोई कुछ ना कुछ कर ही रहा है. So initially I couldn't go out because of my own health issues, and I'm still in vulnerable categories. I'm not supposed to step out much, but I'm taking enough precautions and doing whatever I can. तो निजामुद्दीन एरिया में गवर्नमेंट के रेंट बसेराज होते थे where they used to take care of homeless people and they used to get food also there earlier on. But in this COVID situation, for some reason which I fail to understand, they removed those rent baseras. So all these people are on road right now. And a lot of them are not even homeless. They are those migrants who are stuck in Delhi because of the situation. So we are just trying to help them in filling up the forms and finding the trains and buses. Because they don't have phones, which is right now most important because all the train passes are coming only on phone. So, and secondly, they can't fill up their own forms. So I'm just trying to help out whomsoever I can. अभी तक कुछ ज्यादा impactful नहीं किया है, but I think even one life matters. So we are just going really slow here and trying to help them. Side by side, I'm trying to feed people. So we cook here. Me and my friends are there. We are cooking and distributing food in areas where it is required.
So you have spent almost 3 years promoting local artisans, small handlooms through your social media. So what encouraged you to start this?
So first of all, I'll clarify that I'm not like some expert on the topic.
No. None of us are experts.
I'm just enthusiastic about certain things, very passionate about it. So I just keep on doing whatever I really enjoy doing. I think it all started with my whole craze about wearing saris to places that I was visiting. I'm a lawyer otherwise, so I was generally wearing saris to court. And thereafter, I just started traveling in saris, and that's how my Instagram page came up, which is called Travelista in Sari. And once I started interacting with more women who were very enthusiastic about saris and who want that this culture keeps being like, trendy, it doesn't just go away after a point. So we just ensure that, wherever we are traveling, we'll always pack a sari, even if it is a destination abroad or anything. So my whole thing started with going on a tiger safari, and I was wearing a sari, and everybody around me was very happy and excited. After that, I hiked up a waterfall wearing a sari, which was very convenient. So that's how it all started. And once I started wearing it, I started reading more and more about it. That India has like so many different weaves. Almost every state has a different weave to it, and there are handloom weavers who are making these astonishing pieces, and some of them are so exquisite. It's like a collectible art in the form of a sari. So that's how I started connecting to people, connecting to artists, and it just made me think that this is something where we have never focused our attention as much. Like, we keep running behind fast fashion, and we completely forgot that our own heritage has beautiful garments, beautiful weaves, hand embroideries. So much of it is on the verge of extinction only because the new age generation, I would say, is not much aware of it, and even their own generation of weavers, they don't want to pursue it because there are not enough buyers around. So I think now we are a group of like-minded people on Facebook, on Instagram, who are consciously making an effort that we should own pieces of these garments in any form. Even if it's a scarf, a stole, it will still matter. So let's buy it, let's talk about it. Let's connect to these weavers who are not even aware of technology much. They don't know how to promote themselves on social media. So we just try to bring them up, give their contact numbers so that others can go talk to them and just pick up a piece, and it survives.
So till now you have traveled in sarees and you have collected the sarees from different parts of India. But how do you find the right people or organizations to promote or buy from?
So I'll be very honest about it. It's, I think, first mistake all of us make, right? Even I have made those mistakes that we end up going to shops which will charge exorbitant, and that the money is not even going into right hands.
Yeah.
It would just end up with the middleman. I think all of us do that. Like, even I have done it, like, unconsciously, consciously. Like, it's just easy. You land up at a new destination, you see some gift shop, a souvenir shop, you just go there and you pick up something from that. We just need to take little bit of effort of reading before you're traveling to that destination. So now Google is there, almost all the information is there on Instagram, on Facebook. If we start looking for pages from that particular destination, we'll also figure out why it is famous. So if I'm going, for example, if I'm going to Madhya Pradesh and if I'm traveling to Maheshwar, I can easily look up that it is famous for its Maheshwari weaves and saris. And there is a cooperative society which is working specifically with the weavers in a particular cluster. So once you just figure out what it is famous for, then it is really easy to find the place where you can also get it. Not from a big showroom or something, but from someone who is actually making it. So I think we just need to start reading a little bit more rather than just ending up at the destination and then looking for it. Even that is not that bad an option if you're staying at a homestay or something, because that's how you connect to locals, and then maybe somebody can direct you. But I would, for now, easy reference, I'm going to suggest that on Instagram there are particular pages like Rewa Society for Madhya Pradesh, Maheshwar. I'm not very sure if people are going to specifically go and follow, but they have been constantly promoting local arts. So you can just go there and check for the pages and artisans who are popular in certain parts. Like, Kutch is very rich in its handicrafts. West Bengal is popular. There is Shanti Niketan there. South has different weaves. So all this information is on constantly coming up on our online searches. And not necessary you have to go through middlemen. There might be, like, small clusters that you can visit. Another good option that I found, particularly for me, it was really convenient, was to go to local festivals in Delhi, like go to Surajkund Mela or World Trade Fair. or Dastakar place, Dastakar Haat, which is there in Delhi, or Delhi Haat, they usually have genuine artists around who have their small stalls. So from there also we can get leads and contacts. So next time if I visit a particular state, I will definitely call up that particular artist and check his availability and, like, go and see his products at least once. And I would also say that it's not necessary that you always have to buy something. So don't approach any artist with just a purchaser's mindset. But even if we create some awareness of about them, that is also really helpful. Like, as a traveler, what I used to do initially was, when it was not very pocket friendly for me to buy products, I would at least go and ask them, like, how, what's the process, how does it go about, try to make small videos. I'm not really good with photographs and videos. I'm not used to doing that much, but I still try to capture and then share it on my handle, so that anybody else who is interested, they might be like at least inspired to go to that location and then see it themselves or buy it there. So as avid users of social media, I think it's very pertinent that we help them in understanding the pros and cons of it and how to display their product on social media as such. Because otherwise, what is happening again is, on the name of weavers and artists and all, a lot of middlemen are making money. They have set up their own pages on Instagram and they are trying to sell the products. And the rates are like very different. Like, actual weavers are getting very little, and these resellers are getting way too much. So ideally, I would suggest that you go yourself, go and have a look at the process. It is also a very sustainable way of encouraging them, and creating enough awareness amongst other people that, something like this exists, and maybe you can just have a look at it and spread a word about it. I think word of mouth really works a lot for them.
It does. A few years back, I had gone to a photo walk in Bangalore. Like in the main city of Bangalore, there were a couple of these sari makers who used to make prepare some weave in a very small room that was like hot like anything. These artisans were closing their factories because Bangalore is too costly to operate, and then some of them were moving to other parts of Karnataka, and while many were just choosing different jobs. So after these photo walks started happening, there was more of awareness around these are the people who are working in main city of Bangalore, and they're creating such amazing sarees and textiles, and yet no one knows about it. And
Right.
yeah, and उस photo walk के वजह से a lot of businesses got saved.
That's really good. That's what I feel now. It's something like Pushkar Festival. It is so popular, like Dev Diwali of Banaras. Why is it so popular? Because photographers and travelers have made it popular. Vrindavan Holi, like few years back, I don't think so it was like a mega hit ever, but it is so popular because travelers and photographers have made it so popular. So personally, I feel that travelers can make such huge impact even to handloom and handicraft industry only by, just making these smaller clusters popular. And the entire process also gives like opportunities to click amazing pictures. Like, I can just give one example. Recently I saw a video by a popular photographer on his page, which was about Kashmiri weavers weaving a Kani Pashmina shawl. And the entire video, it looked like as if it was some kind of Sufi trance music, something like, very spiritual going on. It was so beautiful because the process looked so beautiful. And I personally felt that, doing things like this, photographers and travelers can help so many people. If we can make a festival such a big hit just by clicking amazing pictures and by being there, just imagine the impact we can make together by adding one destination in our travel itinerary. So if we are going to a location and if we are going to do like 10 things, we just need to add one more thing. And that one thing is to figure out what the local art is, why this place is famous for that art. Go and meet the local artist, try to take a workshop with him. Like, almost all these artists are also doing like short small workshops, like a 1 hour workshop of for example, Madhubani painting in Bihar, or how to make cane baskets, or pottery. There's so many local arts which every destination is promoting. So we just need to add like something like, one little feature to our itinerary, and that would also be very impactful to people.
Yes, yes, yes.
I also want to add one more thing here. we don't realize similar situation, like few years back, not few years back, till recently we have been hearing a lot about farmers in India committing suicides because there isn't like enough work and money for them.
Yeah.
Similarly, weavers and artisans have also faced the similar situation. Their next generation doesn't want to pursue or continue the art because there isn't any enough money or government support involved, or a lot of them have faced extreme poverty and negligence on the part of state. So help from travelers will definitely boost their morale.
Yeah, we need to develop like positive content around these problems rather than just taking one photo and uploading it without any sense or context will not do anything.
Positive contact and a conversation. Things
Yes,
work
yes.
only when there is a conversation happening. So,
Yes.
and again, another thing which I have learned is that don't go just click a picture and walk away. Maybe you can develop a connection, exchange numbers, try to have a conversation in between, build a good rapport. That ways you can also spread the word. We definitely are very privileged because we can use technology very well in our favors. Maybe we can just help others also in using it effectively. Don't fall in the trap of the middleman. Don't go after the bigger brands or bigger showrooms which come across when you're traveling to a place. Try talking to locals, try getting insights into where these people usually work or reside into. Usually weavers and artisans have their own small clusters in most of these places. So once you figure out what the cluster is, one way is you can find it online, like while researching on Google, or maybe you can look up for pages on Instagram. A lot of them are talked about there also now. If not, then you can also just go talk to locals for a while. You will definitely get certain leads from there too. For me, talking to locals helps me a lot. Like I'm a chatterbox, so I can just go have a chai and talk to the entire market all day long.
For me, staying at homestay works always because homestay people are more locally connected than the hotel people. So
That's true.
when you stay at a homestay, you'll find more local recommendations for local food, local artisans, local festivals. You'll find a lot of things that a hotel won't provide you.
Definitely. So homestays is always a first preference for me too. Either it is hostels or homestays. So totally depends on the location. So homestays are something where you actually get the local info totally. There are chances that your homestay host is also conducting some kind of a workshop or a walk or something. So from there also you can get some tips. So I also try to look up for these local workshops basically, like a hour or two, 1 hour or 2 hour workshop on a particular day, because that way it just gives me like a certain insight about how the culture is or what the food is like, or what is the popular art form which people like to uh, participate here in.
So your style of traveling is very interesting. Would you like to share a little about it with our listeners?
I don't know. I kind of get to hear this a lot that, hey, you travel in sari, that's so different, unique, and interesting. And most of the times I reply that, but hey, our dadis, nanis, even our moms, weren't they wearing saris all day long everywhere? Like I have seen my mom wearing sari to every place that she has been to. So I think I'm not doing anything new. It's just that yes, even I still wear other garments also. It's not that I only wear saris. I wear all kind of clothes, whatever I'm comfortable in. But sari is something which feels like a second skin now. It's very versatile. It's very easy to handle, and it's very convenient. So I'll tell one this funny example of mine. When we had gone to the tiger safari, and everybody thought that, hey, your sari is very lucky. Only when you're wearing that sari, we get to see tigers. Because हमने multiple safaris करी थी, there were like some misses, and sometimes we were lucky and we were able to sight a tiger. But जब मैंने साड़ी पहनी थी तब we were 100% lucky enough to see a tiger. बट साड़ी पहनने का उस दिन एक और फायदा मुझे पता चला था. इट सेव्ड मी फ्रॉम ऑल द डस्ट ऑफ दैट फॉरेस्ट, क्योंकि ताड़ोबा हैज दिस रेड मिट्टी एंड इतना डस्ट उड़ता है वहां पे. तो मैं अपने आप को कवर कर सकती थी टोटली विद द साड़ी. एंड शाम की जो सफारीज होती थी उसमें बहुत मच्छर होते थे, तो माई साड़ी आई कुड जस्ट रैप इट अराउंड एंड सेव माई सेल्फ. So I personally feel that sari has like multiple uses also, and it can be draped in such trendy way, such fashionable way. I can convert a sari into anything that I want to. So it can be a dress, a gown, or a simple sari, or something extremely stylish. Or it's sustainable also, because once a sari you're bored of it, you can make your curtains, you can make your table cover, you can make cushion covers. So many multiple uses. Bags. So it's not just like it can be used in one form, it can be used in multiple forms. Oh yes, I do travel in saris, and even if I'm not traveling entire day in a sari, I at least make sure that I am wearing saris during certain parts, or maybe evenings, or going somewhere specifically. I would like to wear it, because for me it's like part of my culture that I'm carrying with me everywhere. It's also a very good conversation starter, because especially when you're abroad, people do come around and ask, okay, what is this, from where you belong to, and does it have a particular name? So that ways I can start a conversation with it and do talk about it, like, how for Indians it's something which is very identifiable, and I'm very, very proud of.
So when you travel, लोग आकर पूछते हैं कि ये साड़ी particularly कहाँ का है, which place it belongs to.
Yes, so as I said, sari is a good conversation starter also. और mostly जब मैं travel करती हूँ तो I try to carry different weaves from different regions with me, so that whenever I wear it and somebody comes and asks about it, I can talk about it. There have been times जब मैंने smaller brands जो भी होते हैं उस वक्त मैं जिनके भी साथ, या तो अगर कभी कोई collaboration कर रही होती हूँ, or if I am wearing a particular product of some brand, I will let them know that this is from where I picked it up and you can also buy it. That way थोड़ा बहुत लोकल जो बिजनेस है वो भी प्रमोट हो जाते हैं, और अवेयरनेस तो होती ही है. अगेन व्हेन यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट अ प्रोडक्ट, ऑब्वियसली आई लेट देम नो कि कहाँ की वीव है, हाउ मच टाइम डिड इट गो बिहाइंड वीविंग, बिकॉज एवरी साड़ी इज डिफरेंट. देयर आर सर्टेन साड़ीज जिसको लाइक बनने में ही इतना टाइम लग जाता है. So a lot of hard work also goes behind it. So it's good, at least, when I'm wearing it and when people look at it, they get curious and they come and they talk about it and ask about it. Abroad में तो बहुत ज़्यादा curiosity होती है. Whenever they see, I have always experienced it, कि people definitely come and ask you, okay, what is it called? From where have you got it? If we want to get it, can we? Because उनको ये एक hesitation होता है कि साड़ी पहनेंगे कैसे. So then my reply is usually कि you can wear it in different manner. It's not necessary to be worn with like, in a traditional way. You can actually experiment a lot with it, क्योंकि it's an open fluid fabric. You can just use it in whichever way you want to. And I think that helps. यानी काफी लोग interested होते ही हैं हमेशा इसके बारे में.
Thank you, Bhavita, for joining us. It was great to learn about Indian handlooms, and I always wanted to know more about it. It was great having you here on the podcast.
Thanks a lot for having me here. I'm going to just end with this. Ki, although now we all have spoken a lot about conscious traveling, responsible traveling, and everything, but we still have to now unlearn and relearn how to travel. Post-COVID situation is going to be very different. So let's just be more conscious about how we are traveling, and let's just try to keep handloom, handicrafts, and our artists in our mind when we are planning our itinerary. Thank you so much, Anshul, for having me. It was pleasure being here.
Hopefully, we will get to do another episode in future.
Hopefully, we'll do another one when we have good network.
Our listeners can follow Bhavita at
Travelista_in_sari.
And make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I'll be back with another episode and a new guest. Till then, stay safe, stay at home, don't lose hope, and talk to someone if you need to. Goodbye.